Hi, I'm Libby, and I'll be reading you today's Cape Cod Times, dated Friday, August 28th, 2026. The weather outlook today calls for cloudy and humid skies with a shower and thunderstorm. Highs will reach 80. Tonight, temperatures will get down into the mid-60s, partly to mostly cloudy and still humid. Both Saturday and Sunday will have clouds and sun, with temperatures reaching the high 70s or possibly into the low 80s. By special request from a few of our faithful listeners, we now present the lottery numbers. The winning numbers of Thursday's numbers game for the midday drawing were 0, 4, 5, and 7. The evening numbers were 9, 0, 7, and 0. For Tuesday's Mega Millions drawing, we have numbers 7, 10, 47, 48, 50, and the extra ball of number 14. For the Powerball drawing on Wednesday, we have numbers 12, 32, 45, 50, 58, and the extra ball of number 2. And finally, for the Megabucks drawing on Wednesday, we have numbers 1, 6, 19, 28, 31, and 32. Most of page 1 of today's newspaper is taken up by 2 photographs with the headline, Saving Grace. One photograph has a picture of a dump truck and an excavator in between 2 buildings, and the second picture is of the main building with this caption. The main house, once home to Bishop's Terrace restaurant on Route 28 in West Harwich. And the other picture is captioned, Construction and demolition equipment was at the ready on the property on Route 28 in West Harwich, once home to Bishop's Terrace restaurant. Plans call to demolish some of the structures on the property, but preserve the main house. The main house, built in 1778, will be renovated. At its June 17th meeting, the town's Historic District and Historical Commission approved the project. Jeffrey Handler, a partner in JSLW LLC, the property's new owner, told the commission there are no plans to resurrect the restaurant, but instead restore the main Job Chase Senior home. He added that anything that can be saved and repurposed will be. The old restaurant has been vacant for several years and had fallen into ruin, and the pictures were taken on August 19th. Manager resigns, 2 commissioners depart Cape Cod Gateway Airport, by Susan Vaughn of the Cape Cod Times. Cape Cod Gateway Airport is facing significant turnover at the top, with airport manager Mike Nelson resigning after just over a year on the job, and 2 members of the Airport Commission also departing in recent months, leaving key leadership vacancies as officials begin a search for a new manager. Nelson did not make a formal announcement, but turned in his notice to the Town of Barnstable Human Resources Office earlier in August, which has posted the position on the town's website. Executive Assistant Suzanne Kennedy said by phone on Monday, August 24th. Nelson's reason for leaving is personal, she said, but she confirmed he will remain as manager until the end of December. Gateway Airport is a public airport owned by the town and managed by the Barnstable Municipal Airport Commission and airport staff. The town handles hiring of staff. The commission, which also had 2 recent resignations, will be reviewing manager applications after the application deadline of September 11th. Commission Chair John Flores announced at an August 18th meeting. Barnstable Human Resources posted the manager position on its website on August 14th. The annual salary, depending on qualifications, is $180,103 to $215,240. The applications will be reviewed from September 14th to 18th. A manager recommendation will be made at a September 22nd executive session and vote taken at the Commissioner's September 29th meeting, Flores said. The commission unanimously voted to appoint Nelson as airport manager on July 10, 2025, after an extensive search. He had been serving as interim manager at Gateway Airport since April that year and previously worked there in air traffic control. His experience also included air traffic manager at Boston Logan International Airport from 2019 to 2021, and air traffic control positions at other airports. At Gateway, Nelson is responsible for handling budget, operations, TSA and security, and the building of temporary facilities. After the appointment last year, Flores praised Nelson for his understanding of environmental issues, staff and training, technology, and his experience in local, state, and federal issues, according to a Cape Cod Times article. He promoted a very positive work culture, Flores said regarding Nelson's interim post. He is a man of integrity. The Airport Commission also has 2 vacancies to fill. Joe DeGeorge resigned at the end of his term in June, Kennedy said. He had been a member since 2021. Flores announced the resignation of Commission Vice Chair Mark Guod, who had been a member since 2022, at the end of an August 11th special commission meeting, viewed on video. Guod was not at the meeting. Flores gave no reason for the Guod resignation and immediately nominated member Norm Weil to serve as vice chair. At its August 18th meeting, the commission approved the appointment. The Save Our Cape organization, which monitors the Cape Airport, has questioned whether Guod was a Barnstable resident. Guod's Facebook page lists Marston's Mills as his residence, but a home at 43 Camelback Road in Marston's Mills lists only his sisters, Suzanne and Joan, as owners, according to Barnstable assessor's records. Guod's permanent residence in West Granby, Connecticut, is listed in the White Pages and his MyLife.com biography. Guod has nearly 40 years' experience in the U.S. military and the Federal Aviation Administration, according to his biography on the Roosevelt Group website. Flores did not respond to an email about Guod's background. Harwich man wins $4 million on scratch ticket bought with Keno cash. By Rachel Devaney of the Cape Cod Times. A second Cape Codder won the lottery this week, this time winning millions on a Massachusetts State Lottery scratch ticket bought in Harwich. Jose Valerio of Harwich won a $4 million grand prize August 24th on a 100-time instant scratch ticket game, according to a lottery press release sent to the Times August 25th. Valerio had been playing Keno, according to the release, and won a bit of cash. He used that cash to purchase the scratch ticket at Main Street Market. The store will receive a $40,000 bonus for its sale of the ticket, according to the release. Valerio will cash in his winnings with a one-time payment of $2.6 million, according to the lottery statement. He plans to purchase a house with the prize. 2 big winners on Cape in past 2 weeks. A Bourne woman also recently won big on August 18th playing a Massachusetts lottery online game. Tia James won a $100,000 prize playing Fortunes of Cleopatra. She said she'll be spending her winnings on back-to-school shopping for her children, according to the release. James will also take a spa day, she said in the release. Massachusetts flags fly at half-staff in memory of Dolly Parton. By Catherine Messier of the USA Today Network in New England. President Donald Trump has ordered flags to be flown at half-staff across the United States in memory of Dolly Parton. On Tuesday, August 25th, the country music icon died at the age of 80 in Nashville. Parton's death came just 4 days after she told People magazine that she had recently been through hard times with her health, causing her to cancel some recent public appearances. Her representatives has since confirmed that Dolly Parton fought a brief battle with cancer before her death, passing away at Nashville's Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center on August 25th after being hospitalized there August 21st. In honor of Parton's life and legacy, the flag of the United States at all public buildings and grounds across the country and its territories, including in Massachusetts, will fly at half-staff from 6 p.m. on Tuesday, August 25th through sunset on Tuesday, September 1st. Very sad to report that Dolly Parton, one of the greatest country singers and far beyond ever, has just passed away. This is a true loss for millions of people. There has never been anyone like her and never will, President Trump wrote in a Truth Social post from August 25th. In her honor, I am lowering the American flag throughout the United States for a 1-week period beginning tonight at 6 p.m. Rest in peace, Dolly. The world loves you. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey also offered her condolences. Dolly Parton was an amazing human being. Her music meant so much to so many people, and her generosity and kindness made her even more special, she wrote on X. What an incredible life and legacy. My heart goes out to her family, friends, and fans. The state also lit the Longfellow, Burns, Fore River, Braga, and Zakim bridges pink in Parton's honor. Why are flags flown at half-staff? According to the official website of the U.S. General Services Administration, flags typically fly at half-staff when the country or specific state is in mourning. Observances include national tragedies, days of remembrance, and deaths of government or military personnel. The president, the state governor, or the mayor of Washington, D.C. can order flags to fly at half-staff. Half-staff versus half-mast. While half-staff refers to lowered flags on land, half-mast refers to those at sea. Both refer to a flag being flown beneath the top of its staff as a sign of respect. Fights not over on mail-in voting. States file new challenge over planned restrictions by Sarah D. Wire of USA Today. Multiple states banded together and on August 26th filed a new challenge to mail-in ballot restrictions being implemented by the Trump administration. The fight's not over, said Nevada Secretary of State Cisco Aguilar. Aguilar, who also leads the Democratic Association of Secretaries of State, spoke about the issue one day after the U.S. Supreme Court removed a block on the U.S. Postal Service writing rules to put the plan into place. A second separate hold preventing USPS from moving forward is already in place nationwide. In the meantime, news of the court's decision has created new uncertainties for voters that state and local election officials must grapple with weeks before Election Day. Despite any perception, the ruling has no bearing currently on electoral processes for mail-in voting for individuals for the 2026 election, said Maryland State Administrator of Elections Jared DeMarinis. It's important that we tell voters mail-in voting is legal. The processes have not been altered or changed, and it is a safe, convenient, verified method of voting. That is the truth. That remains the reality of the situation here. The Supreme Court's decision said a lower court moved too soon when it partly paused President Donald Trump's executive order cracking down on mail-in ballots. It also said states couldn't challenge rules that have not yet affected them. States had challenged the executive order, saying the Constitution gives them authority over election administration. USPS finalized those rules August 21st, despite the lower court's order. The Supreme Court said, "Hey, your original challenge was a little too early because you really didn't know what the implications were going to be. So now that you do know, go and fight in courts over the actual existence of the rule," Aguilar said. The rules, which were set to be formally published August 26th, detail how USPS would implement the executive order Trump signed in March that seeks to give the agency a say over when and how ballots are mailed, as well as which ballots are returned to local election officials. The High Court didn't rule on whether the restrictions on mailed ballots in the order were legal or could be used in this year's midterms. The Supreme Court ruling was a major win for the security of American elections. Radical Democrats continue to oppose common-sense measures that protect the security of mail-in ballots and ensure only Americans are electing American leaders. White House spokeswoman Lauren Biss said in a statement, "The Trump administration will continue to lawfully enact the agenda President Trump was elected on, which includes the safety and security of our elections." The fight over what rules govern absentee ballots could be crucial for the 2026 midterms, which will determine which party controls Congress. Democrats need to flip a handful of seats in the House and Senate to gain control. Colorado Secretary of State Jena Griswold stressed that voters should know the Supreme Court's move was procedural, not final. "We're going to continue to fight this as the executive order is implemented. We believe we're on the right side of the law, the Constitution, and history," Griswold said. Voting by mail has decreased since its peak during the COVID-19 pandemic. Still, nearly 30% of voters cast an absentee ballot in the 2024 election. Democrats are more likely than Republicans to vote by mail, according to the MIT Election Data and Science Lab. The point is to undermine public faith in our elections by raising the specter of chaos and distrust that will get people to stay home on Election Day, said Sean Morales Doyle, director of the Brennan Center's Voting Rights and Elections program. The center is part of the legal team in a separate lawsuit that still blocks USPS from moving forward. USPS did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Multiple secretaries of state told USA Today they fear the court's order just over 70 days before the election will sow confusion among voters about whether the Postal Service will get to decide which absentee ballots to deliver. Maine election officials are moving forward as if nothing will change, said Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows. What the Supreme Court did, as egregious as the decision is, changes nothing for election officials who are already making plans for November to ensure that every eligible American has the ability to cast their ballot and know that their vote will be counted fairly, she said. There isn't much time left for the cases to be resolved or for the new USPS rule to practically be put in place, state officials said. Under federal law, ballots must be sent by mail to military and overseas voters the week of September 14th to ensure they can be returned on time. 20 states send mail-in ballots to voters 45 days or more before an election, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. The new USPS rule requires state and local election officials to submit voters' names and addresses to the service through a new portal, and only voters whose information is submitted will be allowed to receive mail-in ballots, which will be sent in envelopes with special federal barcodes. Also under the rule, USPS would not collect or record party affiliation and would not inspect ballot contents. Aguilar said even if the suits fail, he doesn't believe USPS could enforce the rule in the midterm elections. I don't think there is 1 ounce of opportunity that the post office can put this database together in less than 70 days, he said. To address possible voter confusion, some election officials are urging voters to use ballot drop boxes instead of the mail. But more than 24 states don't allow ballot drop boxes or have restrictions on them. In many of those states, voters who don't want to put ballots in the mail can opt to drop off absentee ballots in person at local election offices. Apple's next reveal may be foldable iPhone. New CEO's first big event set with September 9th launch by Reuters News Service. Apple is set to host its next launch event on September 9th, where the company is expected to unveil its newest iPhone series and potentially its long-awaited foldable phone. The first foldable iPhone is expected to be a crucial landmark for Apple, with analysts saying that the high-end devices would be the main driver of higher selling prices and margin growth for the company. The launch would also mark incoming Apple CEO John Ternus's first major event. Apple's longtime hardware chief is set to take the helm at the company on September 1st, as Tim Cook transitions to the role of executive chairman. Ternus's appointment, announced in April, was widely regarded as a sign of Apple's renewed push to building on its core strength in devices. Currently, Samsung Electronics dominates the niche, but growing foldable smartphone market, which companies are betting would soon become mainstream despite their premium price tags. Foldable phones are expected to be a bright spot for consumer electronics companies that have faced a setback due to a severe shortage of memory and storage chips that resulted in price hikes and dampened overall consumer demand. Apple has also lifted prices across its Mac and iPad lineups to offset the soaring costs. Still, the company said in July it was facing very significant supply chain shortages and predicted the snags would dampen sales in the current quarter. Analysts expect Apple to launch a foldable iPhone with a screen similar in size to an iPad mini. Earlier this year, Samsung unveiled a new passport-sized foldable phone as the South Korean tech giant seeks to defend its foothold against Apple. Apple is expected to ship more than 17 million foldable iPhones by 2027, according to research firm IDC. Its entry into the market is also key to driving growth, with IDC predicting a 12.6% jump in foldable phone shipments this year. In comparison, global smartphone shipments are expected to see a record 16.7% decline. Carney faces ticking clock on support for tough tactics. Could lose leverage as tariffs impact Canadians. By Maria Cheng of Reuters News Service, Dateline, Ottawa. Prime Minister Mark Carney has the support of most Canadians after breaking off trade talks with the United States. But widespread approval of his pushback against President Donald Trump could disappear within months as the consequences of the trade war sink in. Carney's negotiating position could also weaken if Republicans retain power in Congress after November's midterm elections and reinforce American protectionism under Trump. Carney is one of the few global leaders to retaliate against U.S. tariffs, despite Canada's dependence on U.S. buyers for about 70% of its exports. On August 25th, his government announced dollar-for-dollar counter tariffs on $20 billion of U.S. goods, as well as a $5.41 billion package of economic support measures. Carney's leverage will start to diminish if this escalating trade war starts to show up in palpable increases in unemployment, factory shutdowns, and declining income, said Julian Karagizian, a former advisor at Canada's Finance Ministry and economics professor at McGill University. Canada cannot win an economic war of attrition with the U.S. The U.S. economy is 13 times larger than Canada's, a country with a population roughly the size of California's. Carney's office did not respond to a request for comment. The additional tariffs from both sides of the border, along with Trump's renewed threats to Canada's sovereignty, mark one of the most acrimonious moments in modern Canada-U.S. relations. Trump's actions have prompted an outpouring of support for Carney, who has urged middle power nations to band together to form a new global order and pursued new trade and security alliances to disentangle Canada from its reliance on the United States. War mentality. The United States introduced last-minute changes to its tentative trade deal with Canada, adjusting U.S. auto tariffs, curtailing French language requirements, and restricting Canada's ability to pursue trade agreements with other countries, Carney said August 22nd. Asked by CNN on August 25th about making last-minute changes, Trump said, "That sounds like me." Carney invoked military language to describe the trade dispute, saying Canada had been, quote-unquote, attacked. An Angus Reid poll on August 23rd showed 76% of Canadians approved of Carney's decision to suspend trade talks. But the same poll showed 40% of Canadians are worried their jobs are at risk. Dan Arnold, a former research director for ex-Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, said Canadians are aligned with Carney's approach toward Trump. It's like any kind of war mentality where you see people are willing to make sacrifices to press back against the U.S., he said. Politics is about storytelling, and there is the greatest cartoon villain ever in the form of Trump, said Arnold, who now works at the polling firm Pollara. Canadians are blaming Trump for the economic difficulties, not Carney, Arnold said. Still, he estimated Canadians would continue to back Carney for at least the next 6 months. Whether he can keep the public behind him for longer than that is an open question. Americans favor the Democratic Party over Trump's Republicans on cost of living issues, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll on August 24th. Canada's economy has weathered Trump's tariffs on steel, aluminum, autos, and lumber imports. Most of Canada's exports have previously been exempt from tariffs under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. But while Trump's latest tariffs affect 5% of Canadian exports, they could eventually result in 90,000 lost jobs, said Trevor Tome, an economics professor at the University of Calgary. A U.S. withdrawal from USMCA would likely tilt Canada into recession, according to Canada's central bank. Moonshot in talks with U.S. cloud firms. Chinese company seeks revenue agreements. By Reuters news service, Dateline Beijing. China's Moonshot AI is negotiating revenue-sharing agreements with Microsoft, Amazon, and Alphabet's Google that would allow the U.S. cloud giants to host its blockbuster Kimi K3 model, 3 people familiar with the talk said. Any deal could mark the first big revenue-sharing pact between a Chinese AI firm and a major U.S. cloud company. The discussions highlight how China's leading AI models, often far cheaper than Western offerings, are gaining traction in the United States, despite national security concerns in Washington that have led to bans on exports of AI chips to China. They are also taking place despite critical comments about Moonshot from senior U.S. officials. IPO-bound Moonshot is seeking up to a 30% share of revenue generated from K3-related services on Microsoft's Azure, Amazon Web Services, and Google Cloud, according to the sources, who declined to be identified because the discussions are private. That would be in line with terms that sources have said the startup has outlined for major customers using the open weight model. The discussions are at an early stage, and there is no certainty they will result in agreements, the sources said. Moonshot, Microsoft, Google, and AWS declined to comment. Moonshot has come under fire from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who said in July that he might add it to a trade blacklist. U.S. officials have accused the Beijing-based company of stealing from Anthropic's most sophisticated model, Fable, to help create Kimi K3, and of illegally acquiring NVIDIA chips. Moonshot has rejected suggestions that Kimi K3's performance was achieved via distillation, telling China's National Business Daily in July its performance gains came from original changes to underlying architecture. According to one of the sources, unresolved issues in Moonshot's negotiations with the U.S. cloud companies include how revenue might be split, data access, and auditing token usage. Tokens are units of text processed by AI models, and measuring their use is central to calculating revenue under usage-based billing. Kimi K3 has posted strong results in third-party evaluations. Arena.ai has ranked it first in a benchmark assessing web interface building capabilities, while Artificial Analysis says it delivers performance comparable to OpenAI's GPT 5.5 and Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.8, particularly on tests measuring complex multi-step tasks. For big AI model providers like Moonshot, major cloud providers are the main route to enterprise adoption. Although Kimi K3 is an open weight model that can be downloaded and modified, analysts say few customers are likely to run a system with 2.8 trillion parameters on their own infrastructure because of the huge computing costs involved. Regular listeners are aware that at this point of our program, we move to the obituaries. There is one obituary in today's paper, and it is for Robert James Gilkey. Dateline, Manchester. Robert James Gilkey, age 91, of Manchester, New Hampshire, died Monday, August 24th, surrounded by love, a gentle breeze, and bright sunshine. Robert was born in Cambridge on June 10, 1935, the eldest of 5 children born to Robert James Gilkey and Lila Imogene Brown Gilkey. Raised in Watertown, Massachusetts, Robert graduated from Watertown High School in 1952 at the age of 16 and immediately went to work as a shipping clerk in Boston to help support his family. While working full-time, he attended Bentley College in the evenings, graduating in 1963 with a degree in accounting. Robert had a 50-year career, continuing as an accounting clerk for Boston Shipping. He went on to hold positions with Simplex Wire and Cable, Metropolitan Greeting Card Company, and H.T. Madden Company, and retired from Cape Cod's Puritan Clothing Company, where he served as comptroller for 25 years. Despite holding on for over 30 years to a t-shirt announcing, "I survived the blizzard of '78 at the Hotel Sonesta, Cambridge," he was nonetheless always fashionably attired and took great pride in his collection of suits, ties, and scrupulously selected sports clothes. Robert's profound love of civics drove him to serve in the Army National Guard in his 20s and kept him engaged in politics for the rest of his life. Robert was a true Republican and served as president of the Greater Boston Young Republican Club and as chair of both the Needham and Sandwich Republican Town Committees, as well as a delegate to the state and national conventions on multiple occasions. He believed strongly that a politician ought to be a person of ethics with a moral compass, and he held an unshakable belief in the importance of American democracy, steeped in civil discourse, and a society where all voices are valued. A fixture around Cape Cod, he could be found on a Saturday morning holding a sign for a candidate or cheerily asking for signatures on a nomination form. For many years, Robert was a JOP, officiating marriages on Cape Cod. Robert met his wife, Judith Wilkinson, when they were both actors with Waltham's Hovey Players. Judith, from whom he was divorced, predeceased him in 2005. A lifelong lover of classical music, theater, and musicals, Robert made the decision in 1982 to spend vacations working as an extra for television and film throughout New England. He received his SAG credentials after Robert Urich, who noticed his frequent appearances on the set of Spencer for Hire, asked, "Could someone please give this good guy a line?" He went on to appear as an extra in countless films and made friends there, as he had everywhere along the way. A lover of family festivities, Robert relished his position as family patriarch. But of all his activities in life, there was nothing he loved more than spending time with his granddaughter, Anna. She was the light of his life, engaging him in deep conversations from the time she first had words. They shared many adventures together, in New York City, on Cape Cod, and later in New Hampshire, where he was always the #1 recipient of her baked goods. Robert is survived by his daughter, her husband, and their daughter, his brother, Jared, and his sister, Darylyn. He now joins his sister, Joyce, his brother, Marvin, and his stepsister, Sheila. Additional survivors include 12 nieces and nephews and their families, his friends at Hanover Hill, where he was known as the mayor, and a life full of strangers at bars and restaurants with whom he loved to strike up conversation over his lunch, because he believed in the goodness of people and the idea of interconnectedness. A celebration of Robert's life will be held at St. Anselm College's New Hampshire Institute of Politics in Manchester on Sunday, September 13th at 11:30 a.m. Museum heists are more violent, Europol says. By Julia Payne of Reuters News Service. Dateline, Brussels. Art thieves in Europe are committing more violent robberies, focusing on gold and jewels, and specialist gangs have been replaced by ad hoc opportunists recruited through social media, Europol said on August 24th. The heist at the Louvre Museum in Paris in October last year was a prime example of these shifts, Europol said, as the thieves threatened guards and visitors and stole about $103 million worth of jewels, such as Empress Eugenie's tiara. Over the last 2 years, art thieves have shifted their attention to precious metals, jewels, and cultural artifacts that offer greater profits, the European Union's law enforcement agency said in a report. The price of gold has surged 85% over the past 2 years, as investors and central banks turn to the metal as a safe haven. The London Bullion Market Association, which oversees London's over-the-counter gold trading hub, has warned that as gold prices rise to historic levels, illicit flows and market distortions are also increasing. Europol said offenders are breaching premises and display cases using tools such as sledgehammers, axes, crowbars, and in some instances, explosives. Where traditional gangs used deception and stealth, had a central leader and niche expertise, recent thefts were carried out by a decentralized ad hoc group of profit-seeking opportunists recruited through social media on a crime-as-a-service basis, it said. Europol added thieves were increasingly targeting gold items from nuggets and coins to jewels. Precious metals can be easily melted down, leaving no trace for law enforcement, and facilitating illicit sales during the fencing process. Precious stones and jewelry, on the other hand, can be easily removed and sold, the report said. In January last year, thieves used explosives to steal a 2,500-year-old Dacian golden helmet and 3 ancient gold bracelets from a museum in the Netherlands. The artifacts were later recovered and returned to Romania, although one bracelet is still missing. Europol also noted high demand for Chinese porcelain artifacts, such as Ming Dynasty vases. Dollar stores post strong sales, raise forecasts, by Juveria Tabassum and Anyuja Bara Mistry of Reuters News Service. Dollar General and Dollar Tree surpassed quarterly sales estimates on August 27th, as lower-priced essentials drove consumers to their stores at a time of economic uncertainty and tariff refunds provided an earnings boost. Shoppers looking to stretch their budgets are hunting for cheaper groceries and everyday pantry items at discount and club stores as they wrestle with higher gas and food prices. Dollar General's shares jumped about 8% after the company raised its annual sales forecast and said it would resume stock buybacks in the second half of the year. The retailer is also increasing its share of general merchandise as lower-income consumers look for cheaper apparel, home goods, and toys, boosting margins for the company. In an environment with higher gas prices, we think DG is a concept that consumers are increasingly relying on, said Corey Tarlow, analyst at Jefferies. Higher gas prices were forcing consumers to reduce trips and shop closer to home, helping traffic at Dollar General, executives said. But fuel prices will be a drag on margins in the back half of the year, according to Dollar General and Dollar Tree executives. Dollar Tree also posted its first rise in average traffic in 4 quarters, but stuck to its annual sales targets for a second time this year as it emerges from a transition period after selling its Family Dollar business. Dollar Tree shares were down about 1% after it also forecast current quarter profit below estimates. Results from the dollar stores underscore a growing divide in the U.S. economy, with lower-income consumers trading down to more affordable options and putting off discretionary spending, even as higher-income households splurge on nice-to-have items. Last week, retail bellwether Walmart reported a rare quarterly sales miss, highlighting weakness in consumer spending, while President Donald Trump warned that fuel prices could remain high as the war in Iran drags on. The dollar stores joined retailers from Walmart to Target in investing a part of their tariff refunds on cutting prices on thousands of items across grocery and general merchandise, in the hope it would stimulate spending. Dollar General's quarterly same-store sales rose 3.5% from a year earlier, with growth in categories such as seasonal, home products, and apparel. It raised its annual same-store sales growth target to 2.5% to 2.9%, from 2.2 to 2.7% earlier. Both dollar store operators joined several consumer-facing companies in noting the benefits from tariff refunds, helping them lift their full-year profit targets. Dollar General expects fiscal 2026 profit per share to be about $7.80 to $8, which includes an estimated benefit from tariff refunds, after related reinvestments of roughly 25 cents. Dollar Tree raised its annual profit forecast to be between $7.70 and $8.05 per share, including a roughly 60-cent benefit from tariff refunds. In the People in the News column, Grint reveals surprise return to World of Harry Potter as Ron. Rupert Grint is picking up his wand once again. The Harry Potter alum, age 38, will reprise his role of Ron Weasley in the Broadway production of Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the show's producers announced on August 26th. The play takes place after the events of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows and features an older version of Ron. But this will be the first time the show will star Grint himself as the character he previously played in the 8 feature film adaptations of J.K. Rowling's novels. Ron Weasley has been a part of me since I was 11 years old, and I can't wait to meet him again in this stage of life, Grint said in a statement. There's something so full circle and so special about stepping back into Ron's shoes now when we're both fathers. It's somehow both very familiar and completely new. Grint also said he was blown away the first time he saw the show. Written by Jack Thorne, The Cursed Child is set 19 years after the end of the final Potter book and centers on Harry Potter's son, Albus Severus Potter. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are all characters in the story. Grint starred in all 8 Harry Potter movies released from 2001 to 2011, alongside Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson. He celebrated the news with a video on Instagram showing off a copy of the show's playbill. "Dusting off the old robes," Grint captioned the clip. Grint won't be the first Potter star to transition from the films to Broadway. Tom Felton did so starting in November 2025, reprising Draco Malfoy in The Cursed Child, after already playing Harry Potter's foe in the movies. Felton's run was originally announced to be limited, ending in March 2026, but it was later extended to 2027. Grint will star in The Cursed Child for 17 weeks, starting February 2nd and continuing to May 30th. Felton, meanwhile, is scheduled to step away from the show on January 3rd. Today's Ask Carolyn column is headlined, "She's bailing on her best friend's birthday for her husband, again." Hi, Carolyn. One of my best friends is turning 30 in September and hosting a big Dirty 30 party. We've talked about this for years, and we all know how important this is to her. Our other best friend lives in a different state, but has said for years that she will be there. Until today, when she texted me and the birthday friend that she won't be able to make it because it is her husband's birthday as well, and the only time they can have a weekend without their baby, an adorable 1-year-old. She has bailed on each of our friends' birthday parties for the past 7 years because of her husband's birthday. But she promised this would be the one she would come to. And now she bailed again. She's claiming it's more about getting a weekend alone without their baby. It's the only weekend they can do it. I don't really believe that, since she let us know 2 months before the party. Though my sister just had a baby, and I totally get how it would be nice to get a weekend alone. Still, does it really have to be during the weekend we've talked about for years? I tried talking to her about it, but she got upset and just said I was making her feel guilty. The other reason it is so hard to talk about it is that I hate her husband, and we've fought about it many times. So she thinks I'm just hating on him and saying she shouldn't put him first, when I'm just trying to get her to prioritize our friend on this important milestone since she has missed all the rest. Am I letting my hatred for him cloud my judgment, or is she being a bad friend? Signed, Friend. Dear friend, I'm going with A, clouded judgment, but not for the reason you think. I'm not saying you're too biased to see it's A-okay for her to prioritize her husband, even on the weekend she promised to her friend. What you're missing is the bind your friend is in and how complicated it can be emotionally to marry the person your best friends despise. She is in this marriage with baby now. She knows you loathe her husband. Her husband knows his wife besties loathe him, yes? So how much support do you think she's getting to leave the baby with him to go see her friends on his birthday? Or flip it. How much pressure is she under not to go? In her own mind, if not from him. Out of state, she's probably able to put all this stress in a box somewhere. She can be friends with you two in peace on her own phone. But every year, the shared birthday drags it out again. Now, this still wouldn't be an issue if all parties gave the friend in the middle some grace. Sure, sweetie, go see your awful friends this year. I owe my sister a visit anyway. Or, yes, we know this weekend is for your husband. Let's plan for the weekend before. Right? You bring up bad friend. Let's switch to good friends. Hers, now, would offer her forgiveness for a deliberate reset. Replace pressure and disappointed vibes with soft, non-judgmental listening ones. I didn't mean to guilt you. I hear your stress. I'm here. You want friends to keep their party promises, yes, but the support ones count even more. Outer Cape Music Festival is Labor Day weekend by Gwen Friss of the Cape Cod Times. Who Let the Dogs Out? The Baha Men did in 2000 with their globally popular, Grammy-winning cover of the catchy Trinidadian song. Those same Baha Men will be on the Wellfleet Town Pier on Sunday during Labor Day weekend for the 4th annual Outer Cape Music Festival. People keep asking me if it's really the Baha Men. Yes, the actual Baha Men are actually flying in from the Bahamas to play at our concert on the Wellfleet Pier, said Dave DJ White, CEO of the nonprofit Outer Cape Music Festival that highlights Cape Cod talent and raises money for local causes. The 4th annual Outer Cape Music Festival takes place from 4 to 10 p.m., September 5th and 6th, with a different musical lineup for Saturday and Sunday. The genre is a bit of this and a bit of that. It's a chance for us to highlight talent, including talent that's coming up on Cape Cod. If Cape Cod had a rapper who needed some exposure, we'd have a rapper, White said. Just as important for the Outer Cape Music Festival is the opportunity to raise money for more than a half dozen causes, including the Lower Cape Outreach Council, the Lily House, which provides free end-of-life care, and the Wellfleet Food Pantry. Organizers said the concert has raised thousands for local charities. White said Boston Children's Hospital was added as a recipient this year because they treat many Cape Cod children and support local families. What bands will be at the Outer Cape Music Festival? On Saturday, Electric Six is the headliner. Famous for the songs Gay Bar and Danger High Voltage from their 2003 breakout album, the Detroit-bred Electric Six has earned fans around the world, in part with their funny, outrageous videos. We're thrilled to welcome our headliners, Electric Six and Baha Men, alongside an incredible lineup of local and regional artists, including Crooked Coast, 40 Thieves and Friends, the Boston Naturals, Natalia Bonfini, Club 9 Ball, Barmaids, Matt Devlin, Watch Your Step, and more, according to festival publicity. Cape Cod musicians start young. Watch Your Step is made up of 11-year-old drummer Trent Burrett, 13-year-old Allie Long as lead singer and bass player, guitarist Cam Long and Caden Vasquez are 17. For a complete schedule of musical acts, go to the website of the Outer Cape Music Fest. How much are tickets? Tickets are $40 per day or $70 for both days. VIP tickets, which allow access to the VIP tent, are $100 more per ticket. Kids 12 and younger are free, as are well-behaved, leashed dogs. Tickets are being sold through the music festival's website and at the door if any are left. White said there are about 1,500 tickets in total. Is there food for sale at the Outer Cape Music Festival? Yes, and more than last year. We had long waits for food last year. This year, there will be a much bigger bar and plenty of food, so that should cut the wait time, White said. On the schedule for 2026 is a pop-up kitchen from Max Seafood, freshly shucked oysters from Pirates Shellfish and Wellfleet, a food truck from Red River Barbecue in Harwichport, Fizzy Potions specialty drink truck, including dirty sodas, and desserts from Dosito Homemade Bakery in Yarmouthport. Returning for a second year is George Khalil, proprietor of Deepwater Dogs, a Brewster food truck normally found working on the rail trail. Khalil said he welcomes this year's additional food purveyors. I sell gourmet hot dogs. There are different choices of toppings. I toast my buns. I finish my franks on the grill. Keep them in a bath of spiced water, then put them on the grill. It's much harder to do when there are 200 people in line, Khalil said. The hot dogs themselves are Hoffman's Gourmet Franks from Syracuse. They're a little larger than average hot dogs. It's beef, pork and veal in a lamb casing, so there's a little pop when you bite in, Khalil said. Deepwater Dogs also offers sausages with grilled onions and peppers, but those take 8 minutes each, so it will depend on how many people are in line. If it gets super busy at the music festival, Khalil said he may only toast buns if people request it. It was exciting. It was stressful. But I'm going back this year. It should be less chaotic. It's a good event, especially in that space, Khalil said of the party on the pier. According to the festival's frequently asked questions section, festival goers can bring in sealed bottles of water in bags, no coolers, which are subject to search. Water and soft drinks will also be sold at the festival, as well as local beers. Do you need cash at the Outer Cape Music Festival? The festival website says most food vendors and local craft vendors accept Venmo, credit and debit cards, as well as cash. The website also suggests bringing a light and portable lawn chair. It's held rain or shine, so you may need rain gear. Outer Cape Music Festival parking. Parking is available for $10 at the First Congregational Church on Main Street and the United Methodist Church, also on Main Street in Wellfleet. White said fees collected benefit the churches. Parking is free at a third location at State Highway in Wellfleet. This is part of the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot, White said, and is farthest from the pier. A free shuttle will run from all 3 parking areas from 4 to 11 p.m. Cape Cod Restaurants. Ocean Edge hosts End of Summer Dinner by Gwen Friss of the Cape Cod Times. In Cape Cod restaurant news this week, a Brewster resort has a new executive chef who is kicking his tenure off with an end-of-summer wine dinner celebrating the flavors of his new Cape Cod home. Also, a national journalist will host a coffee hour at the Governor Bradford restaurant in Provincetown to discuss events of the day. In case you missed it, last week we wrote about the White Whale replacing the Sons of Liberty Tavern at Villaggio Prime Bar and Grill in Cotuit. Look for a seafood happy hour and $10 martinis. Sundancer's closing after 9 years, and Dolphin Restaurant in Barnstable Village getting a new chef who's a familiar face. There was also news about local chefs cooking Anthony Bourdain's favorite foods. The biopic Tony came out at most theaters August 21st. For a mental health awareness dinner, and another story about Lobster Pot Restaurant coming off the market. Also, reporter Rachel Devaney told us about how Caribbean culture and cuisine took center stage at the first ever Cape Cod Jerk Fest. Ocean Edge Resort and Golf Resort in Brewster gets a new executive chef. On Thursday, September 3rd, Ocean Edge Resort and Golf Club in Brewster is setting a table for 100 on its front lawn for its Coastal Harvest Dinner, an outdoor, family-style feast celebrating the flavors of late summer on the Cape, according to an email from the Brewster Resort. The dinner, which includes paired wines, is open to 100 guests who are 21 or older. The cost is $165 per person and includes dinner, wine service, tax, and gratuity. Tickets are available through Eventbrite, which charges a service fee. The dinner will be served on the front lawn, beginning with a 5 p.m. reception, followed by dinner at 5:30. If it rains, the event will move indoors to the Bay Pines Pavilion. Executive Chef Noah Gumistakin is preparing the dinner, which starts with a Cape Cod Grand Plateau of Cape Cod lobster, shell shrimp, crab mason, oysters on the half shell, and tuna tartare. Entrees served family style include cedar plank salmon and wood-grilled bone-in prime rib. The full dinner menu is available on the Ocean Edge website. A graduate of the Tokyo Sushi Academy, Gumustakin has an extensive background in resort work, most recently as executive chef at the Abbey Resort and Avani Spa in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. His career also includes culinary leadership roles with the Ritz-Carlton Reynolds, Four Seasons Hotel Philadelphia, and Sea Island Resort on St. Simon's Island, Georgia, where he opened several restaurants. Gumustakin will oversee functions including weddings at Ocean Edge, according to a written statement about his appointment, as well as the resort's 4 restaurants open to the public: Ocean Terrace, Bezos Pub, Lynx Tavern, and the Ross Common Room. CBS News correspondent hosts coffee, cocktails, and conversation in Provincetown. The event with CBS News correspondent Seth Doane is from 10 to 11:30 a.m. Sunday, August 30th at the Governor Bradford Restaurant in Provincetown. Tickets are $25, available through Eventbrite or at the door, with profits benefiting to local organizations. Seth Doane is an Emmy and Peabody Award-winning journalist and correspondent for CBS News, known for his international reporting and storytelling from around the world. This special Provincetown event offers a chance to hear from Seth in a much more relaxed and personal setting, according to a community announcement of the event. Proceeds benefit the local journalism project and Cape Cod Theater Company. Why OCHS is celebrating the White Party this year, by Beth McDermott of the Provincetown Banner. Outer Cape Health Services is set to surpass $1 million in donations from Provincetown's White Party when the event returns September 5th for its 38th annual fundraiser. The milestone reflects decades of support for the federally qualified Community Health Center, according to a community announcement. The White Party began in 1986 as a gathering of friends at Delft Haven by the Sea, where attendees played croquet, enjoyed cocktails, and marked the close of summer while dressed in white. The event took on a charitable mission in 2011, when Peter Page, a physician and longtime steward of the gathering, designated Outer Cape Health Services as its beneficiary. Following Page's death in 2014, longtime friend Bob Lindsay assumed stewardship of the fundraiser. Since becoming a benefit for OCHS, the White Party has raised more than $950,000 for the health center. The event generated more than $208,000 last year, putting total contributions on track to exceed the $1 million mark this year. If people have fun, the money will come, said Lindsay. Healthcare is a common denominator for everyone who lives on the Outer Cape. Everyone needs it, and without OCHS, we would have nothing. It's critical to our community. OCHS CEO Damian Archer said the event's success highlights the community's commitment to maintaining access to healthcare across the Outer Cape. The White Party demonstrates what happens when a community comes together around something that matters to everyone: access to healthcare, Archer said. We are grateful to Bob Lindsay, the legacy of Dr. Page, the White Party family of volunteers, and everyone who has supported this tradition. Their generosity has made a real difference for OCHS and for the people and families who depend on us. Information about the White Party is available on their website. Those interested in supporting OCHS may go to the website for the Outer Cape Health Center. Outer Cape Health Services operates locations in Harwichport, Provincetown, and Wellfleet. Its mission is to provide primary health care and supportive social services for residents and visitors in the 10 outermost towns of Cape Cod. According to the announcement, OCHS cares for more than 20,000 patients each year and does not deny services because of an inability to pay. Founded in 1987 through the merger of Health Associates of Provincetown and the AIM Medical Center in Wellfleet, OCHS is a 501c3 nonprofit organization governed by a community-based board of directors. The majority of board members are OCHS patients. And that's all I have time for today. This is your reader, Libby, saying thank you for listening.